Welcome to the Work Podcast. I'm Marc Griffin. To the left of me, we have Mike Pelczynski, co-founder of Voice Swap AI and EVP of Rostrum Pacific. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Across from me, we have Sabrina Kalimian, artist manager and founder of a creative agency called Childish. How we doing, homie?
I'm doing good.
And last, certainly not least, we got Donny Slater, artist manager, co-founder of Rollout, silent partner, NRL, thuggish, ruggish, bone. I'm trying to get him to break character, right?
Oh,
Good? What's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
How we feeling, bro?
I feel very proper and professional in here.
Yeah. As requested, we got them intros off. A Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
But let's get straight to the shit, man. Spotify dominated 2024. Stocks with all type of control on the market. They had a 138.1% increase to end the year. Kind of making a big deal and a big splash in the music business with that one. For context, the second biggest gain was Live Nation with 38.3% increase. And as far as record labels goes, UMG suffered a 4.2% red loss. So with 2025 right here going forward, how does that sort of impact the way you will sort of maneuver and move forward for 2025? Let's start with you, Mike.
I mean, I think the bigger message here, though, is even before how we all maneuver where we do of the corner of the industry where we work. Anything dominating is risky. Any company, entity dominating an industry is risky because let's just say Spotify shoots itself in the face or someone shoots it in the face. There's too many people making money off of it, and the industry is completely dependent on it. So I think and also all the people that are heavily invested in original founders are all divesting. So there's just a lot of signals that aren't saying it's a good thing. But I mean, what is it? 84% of all music industry income, I think it might be in the US, is streaming based. And to what you just said, the majority of that is Spotify.
Yeah.
So I think it's just too many eggs in one basket. But I mean, there's a lot of positive there. But I think that's my immediate thought is just the risk of just domination on that side of it.
What do you feel about like Even and some of the like platforms that are having artists? You familiar with Even, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about those platforms?
I mean, any alternative is like Even and all those kind of direct to fan consumer type companies, I think are needed.
Mhm.
I'd love to hear what you think about this.
If you don't mind, could you explain to the people what Even is? They might not know.
I mean, essentially, it's a way to fundraising, right? It's essentially fundraising and transactional.
I wouldn't say fundraising. I feel like that's disrespectful. That's like Kickstarter. You just set the price. Like it's a marketplace for artists to. J. Cole just did his Inevitable podcast through that through Even, and then he sold the vinyls for the 10-year anniversary of 2014 Forest Hill. So it's Spotify with a paywall.
You can pay, like super fans can pay to get something. It feels more exclusive. It feels more like you're touching the artist than just like streaming it.
So like Patreon.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a closer example. Yeah.
Okay.
But less Kickstarter, more Patreon. Yeah. But that requires, I think it's the other thing too, is like, where does the middle class fit in that? Because it requires someone to have a following to be able to just kind of offboard them into that. Which also is really difficult because people have to be willing to say, I need you to go left, and then everyone moves left.
Yeah.
That even a successful upper middle class artist that's even higher than that, it's really hard for people to just adopt new platforms. And that goes back to the whole domination thing. It's really hard for alternatives to exist if there's a domineering force that says every time there's a decision to be made by a stakeholder, they go to check someone's Spotify public stats.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
alternatives are great and they're needed.
Yeah.
Well,
For the benchmark.
I don't know if you guys saw, but Cardi took it a step further, and he's selling his music off of Shopify. Like, you could just buy it and download it, and he's just selling it through Shopify. So he can see all his analytics. He can see everyone coming in. He can create a pixel if he's gonna run
Playboy
ads.
Cardi?
Yeah.
When did he do it?
He's doing it now.
Oh, I didn't know that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuts. That nigga's lit.
Yeah. And my artist just set up his own Stripe page to sell. But again, like, he's a developing artist and you have to have super fans that are willing to. And he set it up, which I believe Cardi. This, I'm not sure if Cardi had it this way, but my artist set it up as like pay what you want. So it's like you can pay a cent, but it's like in theory, you're still making more than the one stream you're getting off of Spotify.
That would be like a direct alternative to the dominant hold that Spotify has.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists, especially, I mean, not even smaller artists, I think a lot of artists are kind of rebelling against the system right now, or at least talking about rebelling, because the reality is, and I think we talked about this, the payout is never fair, right? Like, as much as Spotify is like one of the biggest machines, like majority of these artists aren't even seeing like half of that money.
Yeah.
What does dominance mean, like on the grand scale of things? Because you come from like you're on the C-suite side of it. So like, if Spotify has dominance, what does that mean? Or is that more so like a universal situation as far as like market share? I mean, Spotify gets to set the price, is what I'm saying, right? Like,
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, they can't set the price without the permission granted from the big players in music. So because of all the licenses and bigger deals that are there, and then the muddied waters of people that have the big, like the entities, majors and others, the big entities that have licensing deals with Spotify, they also have partial ownership, they have stakes in it. It's all really fucking muddled. But ultimately, can they actually dictate what they end up doing? Yes. Because they can increase the prices, but everyone wants the prices to be increased because it's simple, dumb economics. But to the complexity under that, it's just very few win, to what you were just saying, right? Like, it's a game that the smallest, lo-fi niche producer artist is competing with Taylor Swift and Drake. And if, God forbid, you release something on the day that one of those heavy hitters release something, because you're competing with them directly. Like that just doesn't work.
But even on top of that, though, to that point of competing with the Drakes and the Taylors and the Harpers.org article, The Ghost in the Machine, that you brought our way, brilliant article. That actually raises another concern, because the independent artists are not just competing with Drake. They're competing with fake artists that don't even exist, that Spotify is actually creating to widen out their pockets. How do you guys feel about that sort of dominating the playlist now? Because a lot of the playlists, artists are being removed from the playlist, have no real sort of like background or transparency on why they're being removed. And Spotify are then removing them with dummy artists, fake artists, ghost artists, who are then taking up all of the space and pretty much taking the money that they would then get, making it even harder for artists to thrive on Spotify. Do you think that alternatives like Shopify are the way to go, with that being said? Because a lot of people don't even know that that's happening. They don't even know that they're losing spaces on these playlists.
I think it works for the Playboy Cardis of the world. I don't think it's a solution, obviously. And I think like the most frustrating part, and I was having this conversation this morning, is like, we are not an industry that works off of talent. As much as it's like talent that should be what is driving everything, right? It's like the powers that be at Spotify are deciding who gets to be seen on these playlists, right? And the same goes for TikTok. Like, I love social media and we'll get into social media later, but I think it's like this amazing tool that kind of allows people to decide, right? It's like you put it out there and then people get to decide what they see as talented.
Right.
But at the same time, you're now depending on an algorithm to decide if your shit is being worth seeing. So it's like this catch-22. And I think for Spotify, it's an abuse of power. And I know that's like a very strong thing to say, but you have a responsibility, right? Like, when I got into this industry and when I was an A&R, like, I wanted to be in the industry because I was like, I want to give talented people a chance to like have their spotlight.
Right.
And then I got into the industry and I was like, oh, it doesn't work like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And once upon a time, too, to your point, Spotify was seen as the counterculture. I mean, that's how they were marketing themselves.
Yeah.
So for them to then turn into or take the mask off and say, Luke, I'm your father is kind of nut, you know?
Yeah. Actually, to combine what both you said, it was an alternative system.
Yeah.
You said the term system.
Yeah.
I think that's a really key phrase. I think
So what, LimeWire and Napster?
No,
I mean,
like,
that was just a fucking
I think Spotify
frag grenade.
at the time, it was like they were trying to do iTunes better.
Yeah.
Too. They were like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I grew up only using iTunes.
Yeah. And then Spotify came through and was like, we're just operating solely off the search bar.
Yeah.
Like we don't, that's how we want you to find us.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're looking for and then you can find those artists.
And it was invite only when it launched, right?
Yeah.
In the very beginning.
And then it was like subscription based. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And but the ultimate rule of convenience, right? Like that we're all, I will admit I'm a sucker for convenience, but at the same time have to ask myself when I'm giving up convenience for something that I'm harming. What am I harming by actually taking more convenience for something?
Yeah, I think what's keeping me up at night is I'm trying to figure out what the play is.
Of
That's all I really want.
of what?
So Spotify's the platform.
Yeah.
The labels dictate pretty much everything, like licensing the music to all the DSPs. They just went and bought fucking everything basically just now. UMG just bought
Down
Fuga. Well,
Yeah.
they bought Downtown, which is Fuga and the whole shit. So it's like,
Crazy.
what do we actually do if UMG can just go buy all the shit that becomes important enough that enough artists distribute through it that they can just keep market share? Because that's in my mind, that's the play, right? It's like UMG buys Downtown. They just bought all the song, all that shit. They just bought all these records, maintain market share, and then they go back to Spotify and then say like, we want X amount of dollars. But it doesn't actually trickle down to like the Dannys and the Pope Babies and the Benjis and the like the indie artists of the world.
Well, the irony of that is the new battleground is the independent arena.
In what way?
The larger players, rights holders, labels, publishers are losing ground to the growing independent sphere because that even if the whole independent sphere, which I forget what the hell, who are we arguing with online? Yeah, I forget who the
Stupid ass nigga don't matter.
Okay. But they were like, oh, if you have a problem with this Downtown thing, just come to this distribution service, just move your stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a bigger thing that's happening here is that it's not you losing your distribution or all of a sudden you are now part of the Universal as a parent. It's all of independence getting, under the thumb because then all of independent music artists labels have less negotiation leverage.
Right.
That's the bigger thing because then all of a sudden, and it goes back to what we were talking about, that streaming is the dominant way of making money. Market share rules. So the simple math is you have to keep acquiring other things to retain your dominance.
Right. But I guess it's like, are we just hyping this shit up? Like
Spotify?
nah, like independence. Like
Yeah,
what is it? Restaurant groups ain't tripping about being independent restaurants. Like it's a handful that are like we're family owned.
But that's
And
transactional. That's a transactional business.
What
That
you-
goes back to the Shopify thing that you mentioned.
People-
Like, well,
You saying a restaurant?
yeah,
Right.
I showed up and I'm paying you money for this cup of coffee. Like it's purely transactional. What music used to be transactional. Now it's I'm showing up, I pay for the buffet, and I have everything of every. So the difference.
But when you were signed to Universal or Def Jam or any of that other shit, it still wasn't transactional for the nigga, for DMX or for Ja Rule or for whoever. If you were signed, you still weren't you weren't at the register.
No, you weren't at the register, but the business was transactional. The business that you signed into, that whole thing could live on its own because there was people individually that were willing to put their money down to buy something that was those artists. Now, there is little to no alternative systems to be able to do things directly. Like, here's my $5.
And that's why I said I feel like I'm trying to figure out I'm following the money. Like I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, where does the dollar go, right? Like
Yeah.
you put your $10 in Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
where does that shit trickle down to? And then I'm looking at it and I'm going like, I really just feel like we might all be pussy. Because in my mind, I'm like, if you were signed to Universal or Def Jam or whatever, a subsidiary, and then they sold that 100 million units or whatever, they sold 500,000 units to Best Buy. you weren't getting that money for the most part anyways. Like, we hear all these artists from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s talk about never getting money. And then Master P went and sold 20,000 units in the street and was rich. Jay and Dane were selling. So to me, Shopify, Kanye doing the shit he's doing, Nipsey doing Proud to Pay, LaRussell doing even, like, to me, I guess what I'm saying is, like, to me, it feels like the game is still the same. Everybody just decided to go jerk off Spotify. Like, y'all decided to make that shit the only way to put music.
Hey, yo.
Y'all decided to make that the way that y'all put music out. Like, take your shit off Spotify. If it's really that real, like, Master P, I don't feel like was dying to put his shit in Best Buy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
Unless it was a distribution deal and Best Buy was buying it directly from him.
putting it in Best Buy was for reach
Exactly.
in that transactional world. And then the labels decided to lower the price of those CDs or whatever it was so low that more people bought it. But to your point, 100,000 at a publisher per price of $6 is not the same as 20,000 for $10. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. There's always a way to keep cutting a share of it to yourself if it's a label. Like, they had many ways of doing packaging deductions. They had, like, there was deductions there that happened. But the crazy thing is that streaming was supposed to democratize it.
Exactly. But
it did. It did the right thing where we have access to all music and every music. But I can't show up with, say I tell myself I got $100 this month to just give it to music and artists. It's really hard to find a way to do that unless they have, like, vinyls and things and merch and other stuff to sell.
You mean from a listener standpoint?
From a listener, fan,
Well, no, I'm saying, I mean, literally, like, are you saying, where do you listen to it at once you buy it?
He's saying, where can I give my money to you that I know as a fan it's going to you?
It's you.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not putting your music on Shopify or you're not on Even, how can I give this to you so I know that Me Fan is helping you?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, where I'm struggling at, like, I just had a conversation with one of my artist partners, and I was like, "Yo, why do you feel the need to put all the full song from every track on the album on Spotify?" Like, you remember we used to go to Best Buy and you would, like, or like Barnes and Nobles, and you would scan a CD and you could put the headphones on and they'll let you hear like 30 seconds of this shit. Like, why the fuck is everybody? If you independent, why are you putting full songs on Spotify? Like, if Kendrick put 30-second clips of the whole GNX on Spotify.
So even beyond Spotify, letting you hear like 30 seconds or 20 seconds of a song, I'm not sure if Spotify still does that. You want them to, like, just upload 30 seconds, period. Like,
I'm just saying, I just feel like our mentality when I'm looking at it and I'm reading articles and I'm seeing niggas complain, all this other shit, I'm like, damn, bro.
Well, you're talking about the counterculture reaction to what we were talking about. Like, that would be a counterculture movement.
yeah, that would be a solution. Which is that's a good solution.
I wouldn't call it a solution, but I would call it a pushback.
Like, y'all are dying to put y'all shit on that platform. Like, y'all made that decision. Yeah, especially if you're not signed. Like, if you signed, you don't really get to dictate it. But if you're not signed to no major, why would you put a 1-minute clip of every song on your album on Spotify, let motherfuckers rock out to it, put the full video to the full song on Instagram, and then use Even or Patreon or Shopify or shit? I was just telling Pope, I was like, man, we might need to just put the music out on Instagram exclusives. Like, on the little subscriber shit they got, or OnlyFans, or it's too many platforms, it's too many other industries of motherfuckers enjoying the benefits of the internet for all this complaining and music to me. Like, restaurants are like, oh, we love DoorDash. DoorDash take they extra delivery fee, transaction fee, they throw an extra 5% on the shit. The customer pay the fee. DoorDash get what they get, we get what we get. Now we got delivery at our restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Sex workers used to have to get on the block, you know what I'm saying, have a pimp and all this other shit. Now girls be at the crib, goddamn throw the light on real quick and make $4 million in a year. So it's like, why the fuck is everybody else benefiting from internet and then the motherfuckers who are making music all of a sudden?
But everything you just described is transactional. It's from one to another.
But music is transactional. Y'all just letting them make y'all think that y'all got to use that platform. Like, you made them, y'all believe Best Buy is the only place you can sell shit. But that's the sold the shit in the trunk.
Because every big player put all of their eggs in that basket, to your dominance question, that 84% of all industry money for recorded music is coming from streaming.
Well,
Like that.
And I feel like that's a skew. You want to go?
no, you can go.
I just feel like that's a skew metric. It's like 84% of all music revenue is coming from streaming because y'all niggas are deciding to
Yes.
stream it.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what's gonna happen.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if y'all took the shit down and everybody just sold physicals, like if Drake, Kendrick, Cole, Ye, YG, if the top 40 artists or 50 artists on streaming from The Weeknd to Taylor Swift all said, we putting out nothing but physical CDs, the fans would buy CD players. Cars would get motherfucking 6-disc CD changes back in them. Like, we've always dictated the thing, and then I feel like musicians and creatives just kind of go for the shit. Like, they just, oh, we got to put on streaming. Oh, okay, we got to do TikTok now. Niggas start wiggling on TikTok. It's like,
So to your point though about the bigger artists being the ones that set the tone, do you think something like, I don't know, Drake suing UMG will possibly open a door up for the conversation to happen? Like, hey, if Drake is taking that stance, like maybe he'll take it a step further and go, you know what? I'm just gonna take my music off of Spotify just to show Spotify that I'm not willing to play these games anymore.
nah, because that nigga he signed a slave deal.
Mm.
It would have mattered when they were negotiating that $400 million. If he would have been like, nah, I'm cool. I'm about to just put this next shit out.
What about his deal as a slave deal? Let's break that down.
It's $400 million.
That's it.
Yeah.
But what about it?
And they're not buying his company and he like not sitting on the island. Nigga, you got deliverables. Like he texted the girl that, he texted the one girl and she posted the screenshots and being like, I got this slave deal with Live Nation. I got it. Like, you slutted yourself out. Like, hell no, you don't get to set the tone no more, bro. Like, you suing them is just like, just getting mad at your boss to me.
So what about your artists, right? You said that you gave them sort of the idea or maybe a suggestion, like, yo, 30 seconds. We can start setting the tone like, yo, for my fan base, you're not going to get the full product. You got to come to me to get that. How did they feel about that? If you can disclose that, but that is digging a little deep.
That's a wide range.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them I think get it. And I just think if you haven't seen it, then you don't know. That's why Danny doing that shit is so tight.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I have two. My first question is like, why do y'all think Spotify is this massive player, right? Like, is it the program itself? Is it just more accessible? Like, if you really look at it from like a tech company perspective, right? Like, what makes it so much better? I use Spotify. I don't even want to use Apple Music. So it's like, but what really does make it so much better? And I've noticed like I started using Spotify more when I became an A&R because I was like, oh, I can see their monthly listeners. I can see their streams. So like that's why I use it.
Right.
But like, how did it, I guess to Donnie's point is like, we let them choose, right? Like, but what made all of us do that? You know what I'm saying? Like as a collective, all of us chose to use this platform. And I would just, from everyone's perspective, like why, like how that happened.
I'll go first. I use Apple Music. All right, you go. And if I'm not using that, I'm using Tidal. If I'm not using that, I'm listening to my records. So
wait, why Apple Music? Did you use
that was natural.
Spotify
I used
before?
to use iTunes back
And then that
it was just a natural evolution because
They're my
it's
best
something that I'm
friends.
familiar with. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I wouldn't even call it first mover advantage, but I would call it first, like they were able to band-aid themselves, meaning like they became the brand band-aid for what they did, or what they do. So I do think they were one of the first to successfully break through different kind of marketing. The product was pretty good. And then the moment all of a sudden all of us could share music, like I think that, and then they just became the brand, right? Like,
But we could share with Apple Music.
yeah, and we could share with SoundCloud, which was the biggest thing that made that thing really propel culturally. But it's interesting, your question too, because it's like SoundCloud became a thing because you could upload anything and share it.
Yeah.
Where Spotify became the Best Buy, right? Like you knew that anything legitimate would be there. And then over the years, it's just become this huge, egregious, and we measure by it. Like you just said, we do measure by it. Like one of the really weird moments I had like about a year and a half, 2 years ago was I was talking to people at Amazon Music, and there was a role, and we were just chatting potentially of working there, working with them, and they they made me actually sign up for a trial to use the product instead of giving me an account, and it was just funny. So I just started like playing with the whole app, and then I was like, holy shit, there's no metrics on here.
Mhm.
There's no total streams. There's none of that. And it kind of made me start thinking about that, to your question. Does that platform have less of an impact because it has less public measurements to make a judgment call? And like, what if all of them had no plays or any, like, you used to show up to iTunes and it just told you which one sold the most, but it didn't tell you by how much.
Yeah.
It just told you what's most popular.
And especially in this day and age too, where fans, they talk like stakeholders. They want to know how much you sold. They want to know how much
But that's
you flopped and you went
Yeah.
double cardboard. Or,
back to that.
yeah.
Well, to your point too, I saw Russ did an interview, and in the interview he was like, nobody cares about you until everybody cares about you. And I think to that idea as well is like, I wonder what the playing field would look like if there was no access to streaming, to monthly listeners, to data. Like, if you just found an artist and they were great,
Mhm.
Yes.
what would you do? You know what I mean? Like, what would that look like as opposed to, I found this cool artist, but like they're not that big. Like, you know what I mean?
To
Like,
me, that kind of feels like how it felt to discover artists during the blog era, where you just like, damn, yo, I just came across this cat named J.
Yeah,
Cole.
connected.
yeah.
J. Cole is so fire. And then I go to school the next day. Yeah, you got a project called Friday Night Lights. It's dope. Yeah, I downloaded it off of that piff. Like, that's kind of what it feels like
Yeah.
to me. I could kind of see that coming back in a,
I feel like the kids are doing that right now.
yeah.
Heavy.
And that's what SoundCloud was, right? It was
Yeah,
like,
that's what SoundCloud, yeah.
it really was that. And I feel like it has gone away again with like just like Spotify taking such a large hold.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, and to go back to what Donny was saying about posting these 30-second clips, it's like everyone is doing that on social media and then using that to drive traffic to Spotify. So it's like, why did we all collectively choose to do that? Why not Apple Music? And Apple Music pays more. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so interesting to me.
Like, it pays the artist more?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't
You
know
know,
that.
but that,
Yeah, for sure.
but
Like a sizable amount more?
If you put 1 million streams in a stream calculator and see the payouts, you would rather get the Apple Music one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
but that dynamic.
up.
Wait, but that's because the niggas who get those types of streams don't
Okay.
own the music, so they never see the check anyway. I know you're thinking this like,
Yeah,
why
I'm like, yeah, wait a minute. I'm
But
missing
it's
something.
but it's also because there is more people on Spotify listening to more music, which
Mhm.
dilutes the per play rate. So if you had more people on Apple and you had more people listening to different kinds of music, you're spreading the money out in that pool. So like the reason that pay rate is higher is because they're not as big as Spotify.
Yeah. And
That's the whole dynamic.
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, but there are, like, Apple Music is notorious for a certain genre doing well. So it's like
Yeah.
hip hop and rap. Like, I remember when I was at UM, like, we look at hip hop artist, rapper, whatever. We're looking at their Apple streams. Spotify, nothing. But like, they could be streaming on Apple.
Facts.
And Spotify, you're going to for like pop, R&B. R&B could be more Apple as well, but like there is also like a level of like genres to it as well, which is interesting when you really look at like who's listening on what platform and why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me interested in like the demographic breakdown and where Spotify spent most of their time marketing Spotify and to who, because that kind of like if the wider range of genres that are popping on Spotify is like pop, kind of carries a connotation to it. I don't know about y'all, but to me it kind of does. And then Apple Music kind of being hip hop and R&B dominated, it's kind of interesting.
No, it's
Kinda-
really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting if you compare, like you take an artist, like a rapper, and you look at their Apple streams, a smaller artist that's like perhaps bubbling, and you look at their Apple streams versus their Spotify streams.
Yeah.
And like you see a noticeable difference.
So I noticed that what you're all talking about is putting the platforms against each other. And to your earlier point, that's what we should be doing.
Mm.
Like, it's not just boycotting Spotify, it's playing them against each other so they actually differentiate.
Like, y'all go fight.
That's the fucking problem, is because they're all pretty much the same. The way they pay is all pretty much the same except for SoundCloud. And there's a new platform coming out this year that's going to be only for independents.
Oh wait, please. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
It's a company called Volcana. Yeah, and they're purely going to come out just for independents. So there's no non-independent music on it. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
And then the whole streaming model is going to be user-centric. So the stuff I did at SoundCloud, I helped them architect the user-centric model. So it means like if I'm paying $5, $10 a month, and I only listen to the three of you, you three get your equal share of my $10.
Wow.
There's nothing goes to anyone else I didn't listen to. Where on the other platforms, money goes to artists I never even listened to.
Yeah, because it just goes in a pot and it gets dispersed by streams, right?
Yeah, by just streams of volume. So it's like, I think what you just all touched on though is really key, is just alternative systems outside of the system. But then also, if there was a way to pin them against each other, to actually differentiate, that then it should be fine. One's more hip hop leaning, one's more pop leaning. That would be great. I'd be fine with that. Like, I have a Netflix and a Max and a whatever. Like, that would be. And then some people say that they wouldn't want that because they want the one pay. I get everything. But then you could fragment. Fuck it. That person that wants to have Walmart every day and every day, like, sure, here's your Walmart music subscription. But yeah.
This go back to what we was talking about in the test pod for me though. And I guess I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm just saying, it's like, I think what we said in the test pod was Spotify makes it where high school swimmers are competing with Olympic swimmers or whatever, like the kiddie swimmers. And I was like, well, who the fuck wants to win the Olympics? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I just keep running into this thing for the last 2 years now where I'm just like, bro, what are we talking about? Like, I don't think we'll ever pit the DSPs against each other, because I think people really, like, when I talk to artists that I'm about to sign, their goals, if I say, what's your goal, is like 1 million streams. It's never like $1 million. And in my mind, I'd be like, damn, bro, this is crazy. Like,
Flat out like that.
imagine an industry where you can convince niggas to want to get 1 billion streams, to get a shiny silver plaque, platinum plaque, gold plaque, and be broke as fuck. Like, sad as fuck. Like, that's like the best workforce in the world. Like, y'all niggas gonna make all the music, you gonna do the drugs, you gonna spend all the money to get this goddamn plaque, and we gonna own the shit.
And then add social media to that the social media only exists in the content that we all create. Yeah.
Also,
But then,
do they even know how much 1 million streams is? They better say $4,000.
Feel me, bro? And it's like, that's legitimately, I promise you, talk to most A&Rs. If you talk to these artists, bro, like, they don't be having money goals. The only ones that do be like the street rappers. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the street rappers figure out how to make some bread out the shit. But I'm just saying, like, for me, I think it's my biggest problem to respond to the Drake shit and to respond to the Spotify dominant shit is like, I feel like that shit really shouldn't even fucking matter, because it's like, if you independent, you should just be selling your shit in the digital streets instead of the digital store.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, Spotify is a billboard for you. Spotify is a way to get your shit streamed in Berlin or get your shit streamed in Australia. Cool. You can't necessarily tap in with that in the physical format.
But you still have to upkeep it, because if it's your billboard, it's still showing your stats. And I guess the root of saying I want 1 million plays as someone that's gonna partner with you, right? It's more of that billboard that I still have to have that legitimacy that shows I have X amount of monthly listeners, Y amount of plays on my top tracks. And even if you create this world of alternative systems of how you make money on the side, that billboard still exists. Like, it's still people opening. You're going to tell me about an artist, I'm going to pull up my phone, look at their monthly listeners, and I make an opinion that's completely unjust. I haven't even listened to a fucking piece of music yet.
Yeah.
Which just one small thing. The Ivors Academy in the UK, it's a songwriter organization. They represent songwriters. It's like a union, basically. And one young lady won an award from them. They do like Novellos Awards. It's like a kind of Grammy-esque thing for songwriters. And she got it. She only had 70 monthly listeners on Spotify.
7-0.
That's fine.
7-0.
That's hard.
And
Damn.
her story is really interesting because it's a story that she's used to tell everyone it doesn't matter how many I had. This organization, it's board of composers and artists that are mixed between like really well-known songwriters, producers, and more up and coming,
Mhm.
and they chose her. So that, to what you're all saying, is an example that it can be done, right? And then she showed. But then what ends up happening is she gets recognition, and then she grows
Yeah.
her monthly,
17 million listeners.
and then she grows her monthly listeners and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
it's this interesting catch-22 that we're all talking about.
Yeah. I think it happens very rarely, unfortunately. But I think just to flush out this idea, right? It's like we got to market on social media. Like, let's flush out Donny's idea of like 30 seconds on Spotify. We got promote on social media, right? I'm a developing artist. To get them to Spotify, to then get them off of Spotify onto another platform, it's like, am I going to lose fans in the midst of all of that? You know what I mean? And then it's like,
3 extra clicks.
you can't be a developing artist and do that, in my opinion, as much as it sounds lovely, like, right? So it's like, let's just get them first, even if it's Spotify. Like I told Danny set up the Stripe stuff to sell the records so that like if somebody doesn't want to pre-save, they could just buy it right away, right? But I'm like, cool, as long as it still goes on Spotify, because I don't want to miss out on somebody not wanting to hear it and becoming a fan. You know what I mean? So that's like, I don't know. I think it sounds great, but it's like, then it goes back to like, how are we marketing? What are we doing as a developing artist? Which we were speaking about when we were in the lobby waiting for you guys, is like, right, TikTok being banned. If we want to jump into that, potentially, who knows? What does marketing look like for artists without that tool? Because if it is gone, which there is a likely chance that it is, who knows, honestly. But what are we all doing, right? Because this has been our only method for now the last 4 years.
So with that being said, for your team of artists that you have, what would you say to them in a world where TikTok doesn't exist?
I mean, I'm struggling right now too, because it's like my knee-jerk reaction is, all right, well, we're gonna pivot to Instagram. But it's still the same principle of like putting shit out on the internet and hoping for the best, right? You're like, every time you post, you're like holding your breath, like this is the one, right? So it's like, what are other ways? And I know Donny's team doesn't even really lean too much into social media, so like I would love to hear like his perspective on it, of doing that and breaking and marketing without just relying on an algorithm to push your shit forward.
So for your team, why is it anti-social media, and why did you guys sort of like formulate that plan to execute?
No, it's not anti-social media. It's like pro money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like I don't think if I open a restaurant, DoorDash would not be like, if I open a good restaurant, my main priority still would be to have the right people come in and eat the food and not taste the shit in a styrofoam case. And I just feel like, and the artists I work with feel like, social media is an extension. Zoom out. I don't think about how many like views a painter got, like how many views Picasso got. It's a Picasso. You know what I'm saying? Like, or how many views a Basquiat got. Like, it was a Basquiat. So it's like I'm focused on you, nigga. Like, you're the restaurant, you the chef. So like, if Benji's making a project, you know what I'm saying? And some of this is dependent on the artist's momentum and like how they, like, if they feel like doing it. But the way I approach artists is like, bro, you a painter and we're selling your art. And we got to figure out, once you make the art, how do we want to exhibit the art? Do we want to do an exhibit? Do we want to do some shit at the MoMA? Do we want to do some shit at the Guggenheim, the Whitney, the New Museum, a gallery over here, the so-and-so gallery? Like, so I just look at social media the same way I would look at it if I had a restaurant. Nobody's like starting a restaurant and necessarily going like, they're not posting and being like, fuck, this shit got 100 views. Because they still got to actually look in the restaurant and see who the fuck bought some salmon today. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, every artist I approach, I'm always like, bro, if you want Grammys and Oscars and shit, I'm probably the wrong manager. I ain't even gonna cap. We may get there, and I'm for that if you want that. But like in general, bro, I'd rather, if you get 100,000 monthly listeners and you make $20,000, $50,000 a month, like, are you sad? You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying is that like, we did fan audits for Benji. He had 12,000 followers. He went and DM'd. I had him go through every follower and DM himself, not lay low, not community, not no automated shit. He himself DM'd motherfuckers and was like, yo, like, how did you find me? And like, oh, whatever. And then he literally was like, oh, can we set up a Google Meet? He'll set up the Google Meet or I'll send the calendar invite and we'll get on there and he'll just talk to these fans for 15 minutes. And then we'll get them in the Discord or we'll get them in somewhere else. And some of these people came to, when he opened for Black Odyssey, they bought tickets to go see him.
Yeah.
Like I think I know Black Odyssey, but I met Benji on the Google Meet. I follow him and then he DM. So what I'm saying is just like, I'm just looking, my whole shit with social media is like, what are we doing here? Like, do you want views? Do you want,
like, where's the money? Let's get to the money.
Yeah,
How can we
these are
better use the
people,
money?
bro.
Okay.
100,000 monthly listeners is 100,000 motherfuckers that are looking at your product. A booking agent won't touch you with 100,000 monthly listeners. Real shit. I'm telling you right now. If you're an artist and you got 100,000 monthly listeners, unless your manager manages somebody bigger than you, a booking agent at WME, Wasserman, they're not taking you on as a client because they don't think you can sell tickets. I'm looking at you like, damn, you got 100,000 motherfuckers every month looking at you. So how can we figure out how to get these motherfuckers in Discord or Twitch or Patreon or OnlyFans or whatever? Because in any other business, if we had a restaurant and I was like, yo, we got 100,000 people looking at our shit on Yelp, we would never be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let's get 200,000. We'd be like, how the fuck do we get them in the restaurant? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, no, that's just the philosophy. And from there, it's just like, we just figuring that shit out. So I'd rather Pope have 10,000 monthly listeners and we get 50 syncs. You know what I'm saying? Indie. And he making $50,000, $100,000 in a year, then he have 1 million monthly listeners and he making, 48,000 to maintain 1 million monthly listeners. You know what I'm saying? And he's stressing out about playlists and all this other shit when it's like, we could just go hang out with these music supervisors, play the music for them and just get them to be like, oh, we'll put that shit in 2K and Grand Theft Auto. And we got 10,000 for 2K and 10,000 for Grand Theft. Like,
And you see that? And those syncs are transactional. I'm giving you this for this use and you're giving me money.
and that's what I'm saying. Music is transactional. Y'all know, stop transacting.
Yeah, but the economics are no longer transactional.
Keep going.
In what way?
Streaming is not transactional.
Right.
The value of a play every single month in every single country and every single tier of service changes every single month.
I think being the dead horse at this point. We just going back and forth for the
No, but I mean, you guys are giving life to topics that we already touched on in ways that we didn't talk about it before, though.
Yeah, the one thing I just want to emphasize is that to Sabrina, where you were saying, why have we embraced this whole Spotify machine and the other stuff attached to it? It's like, we're also embracing that we've moved away from transactional means of getting paid for what we do. And you just touched on sync, right? And sync licensing is transactional. It's like, I really want this piece of music because I'm going to use it in this TV or ad or game or whatever. And then you're going to get a fee up front and then maybe even get some points on stuff. So like, that's a transaction. And I disagree. I agree with you. That's what I'm trying to say. I agree that music is transactional. It's just the economics have been completely embraced to be like, all right, I'm in this fluid piece of fucking shit, money that keeps flowing, and this is the pie. This is the entire pie, this table. And then we have to fight for a sliver of it.
Right.
That's the thing that, and everything, AI and all this other stuff, if there's any way to shape this stuff to move back to being transactional, everyone is better off. Even the big players, because they're looking for that. They want that too.
But I guess,
And you're bringing, and you brought it at the ground level though. You just said 100,000 listeners. How many of them can I pull out of there to bring back into a transactional relationship?
and if you take $400 million, then you'll never be able. Let's go back to the slave deal. What I'm saying is, if you take $400 million, you'll never be able to really show the benefits of 50 billion streams. You get what I'm saying? Like, Nipsey is Nipsey to people because Nipsey sold a project for $100, and then it was very easy for everybody to do mental math and go, okay, he sold 1,000 CDs at $100 a pop, and he's fully independent. So he made $100,000 that day. And if he do this shit on tour and he do it 100 times, you can just do the math. When you take the 400 million, what I'm trying to say is that you'll never be able to really post. Like, Russ can get on Instagram and just post his fucking TuneCore statements because he's independent and he chose to, like, go to the register and be like, okay, cool. I'm gonna play the streaming game.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play the Hollywood game. I'm not gonna play I'm not gonna play this game over here.
Yeah. I'm gonna do my own thing over here.
Purely talking to my customers.
Yeah.
So if I can get 10,000 customers, then my 10,000 probably gonna get me to 20,000, my 20,000. And now Russ is in fucking stadiums or arenas, and people are like, how the fuck did he do this? And I'm looking at it like, what other way is there to do anything like that if you don't go take the $50 million, $10 million, $20 million check and never get the chance to actually like, you're getting money to never go to the register is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like culturally we don't let everybody convince us that like sitting at the register isn't possible. You know what I'm saying? That Cardi shit and the shit Ye just did, like niggas not talking about Ye dropping the fucking stem player and selling that shit $200. Like, everybody forgot, and I'm looking like, I think Ye's crazy.
Well, like, do we know how many he sold?
I think he sold like 100,000 of them.
I don't remember even seeing numbers on it.
Cause I saw that shit and I was like, who could buy this shit?
Yeah.
People bought that shit,
like,
and then people bought the Donda One shit too. He made crazy money on that shit. Like,
it also makes you think like how much money you're missing out on. You know, like you signed the $400 million deal, right? But like you don't know who's coming in. You don't know who's coming into your website. You can't retarget them. You can't reach out to them. Like, you're getting that 400 mil to like not even see like what's underneath the hood of the car.
Exactly, bro.
And that's Danny. Like that's my artist point always is like he wants to build a pixel and retarget and like see who his fans are and like. But again, it's a mindset, right? It's like it depends. Like you're also giving like 18, 19, 20. Obviously, Drake's a different story, but you're giving 18-year-olds a bucket of cash. You're gonna take the cash, you know what I mean? So it's like it's also like teaching artists like business. Like I don't think anyone is teaching them business structure. Like, hey, let's have like management as well. It's like your responsibility to be like, hey, let's have a conversation about how you're gonna run your business. Like I'm your partner in this. Like I don't work for you, you don't work for me. Like we're partners, and this is how you should be running your business. I don't think that's really a conversation a lot of times. And like the first thing I do when I talk to somebody like an artist, they want to get into music, I'm like, have you read the David Passman book, right? Because like in that book, what I love about that book, and like yes, it's like
what's the name of that book?
Everything you need to know about the music industry. Free plug.
The Bible.
The Bible.
The Bible. Yeah.
It's like
it's old.
It's old.
40
now.
years old.
I think it's on like the 12th edition, 11th edition.
Yeah. But he talks about everything from like find yourself a lawyer. When you have a lawyer, like this is what you gotta ask your lawyer. This is what you should be doing. Like, and so I think that's like a great gateway to entry of just like even just understanding like full picture, like what all the different components are, right? Because it's like you also have artists that like don't have attorneys and they're signing these deals.
And at the very least, they don't even want to do the marketing for the project that they just spent 6 months making. So with that being said, Doechii, I know you talked to us on the pre-call about.
I was trying to check wolf temperature. I was trying to see how much. I was waiting. Okay.
I know you talked to us on a. All right, cool. I know you talked to us on a pre-production call about an artist that shall remain nameless unless you want to dig deep and really give us a first-hand account. No, of this artist that didn't really want to put in the work that needed to be done marketing wise to really take his work to the next level. I think he wanted his work to be seen as like an Illmatic or Reasonable Doubt, which is like saying I
Can't do that. You just
well,
please no. What the fuck? Like, he knows who he is now.
Oh right. But that is how you can bleep all that.
Thing rhymes with like all right.
And he lives on. But yeah, and then we gave the example of like someone like Doechii, right, who seemingly went to the school of hip hop marketing 101, it feels like, or at least their team did, music marketing 101, and she dropped her project. And then even months after, kept the momentum going, kept hitting us over the head with visuals, kept appearing on late night shows, feeling like she was everywhere. Do you guys, we can start with you, but do you guys kind of see any more Doechiis coming out like that, especially in this era where streaming is dominating and everybody feels like it's the only way to make it poppin'. She found a way to carve out a lane for herself and was like, yeah, nah, this is where I'm operating.
You can go.
Now,
I mean, you look passionate.
no, it's not. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He has a massive twinkle in
I have just one thing to say before Donny gets into it, because I was talking about this with my artist.
And bleep everything I said too about.
And they will do us the cut. I'm gonna have to keep the bleeping kind better, y'all.
Bleep everything, and I'm saying
I'm
that
gonna hit
too.
a project to be aromatic or reasonable doubt. This nigga,
No, bleep that too.
yeah, man.
Yo, so listen, we're all talking about Doechii, right? And like, I think Doechii is amazing. Marketing's amazing. Visuals amazing. However, I will say, she has the upper hand because she gets to do all these late night shows. She's doing Tiny Desk. She's doing all these shows, right? So it's like, to me, as somebody who's working with only developing acts right now, it's still not a good example because it's like, she's in the spotlight. She has agents or label, whatever it is, placing her in these opportunities, and she's making the most of it. You know what I'm saying? Like that music video she just dropped in Isles of River, incredible piece of art, right? I love her. All I'm saying is like, she also is being given opportunities. She's taking advantage of them and she's doing all the right things, but it's like, it's still not a good enough example for somebody who isn't getting a late night spot. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I had to say.
What?
Got it off my chest.
Yeah, I love this. Great topic.
Because I'm gonna address the nigga or girl, and also
Artist.
part of that is artists, but it's just like
They that.
Yeah.
when an artist sees success, like when Tyler does fucking Igor or when anybody does any of that, every artist in the world points to shit like that. They go like, oh, Doechii did that, Tyler did this, and it'd be like, to kind of Sabrina's point is just like, let's unpack and let's go back. The crazy thing I don't think people really understand is, bro, TDE didn't know that was gonna do that.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know.
Like TDE, genuinely, like she's kind of told the story, and then like me just knowing people around that campus, like, bro, they're reacting to this moment.
Yes.
She decided to put a project together. She got with Childish Major and Cal Banks and all these
I mean,
boys.
you could tell from last year too, and like I think she started the year off the New Year Eve, like she performed on that.
Yeah.
The way that she ended the year, you can kind of tell they did not see all the snowball effect coming. They were just like, oh shit, we got to act on it.
And the point I'm trying to make is like, if you again, like if you want to be like Doechii, you niggas better have vision. If you want to be like Tyler, you niggas better have vision. If you want to be Kanye, you niggas better have vision. Because those artists are gonna work no matter who the fuck manages them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that be my issue. That was my issue with that artist, was like, bro, you can't look at shit like that and then lean on management. Like lean on us to figure some shit out. You gotta build the world and decide, I'm gonna wear this shit and I'm gonna cut my hair this way and I'm gonna wear these glasses and this gonna represent this. You gotta build that whole world out and then just go do the shit.
Yeah.
My job is to come in, like Kobe is gonna be Kobe regardless. Phil is supposed to come in and look at him and go, man, like, you really are crazy on the outside. If you really work on this, you could do that. Tim Glover is gonna look and go, if you gain 15 pounds in the gym, Jordan, you can beat the Pistons. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But Jordan is still going like, man, I want to beat the Pistons. I want to be the best. So a lot of the shit with artists and the Doechii shit to me is like, if you've ever blamed your label, don't look at Doechii. If you ever blame your label, don't look at Tyler. Don't look at none of these motherfuckers because you're not like them. Because you think a label can save you. And they think a label can support them. Like, they're looking at it like, okay, cool. I'm going to put a mixtape together. I'm going to do these little ass visuals. Doechii did a bunch of visuals right before that shit dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Some super, like, relatively run and gun shit for a TDE artist.
Yeah.
Put it out. Kind of didn't really do that much. The project dropped. It was a cultural moment because of the producers that were involved and the music and the way she approached it. And then she got this opportunity because of that cultural moment to get this opportunity. And when she got that opportunity, like, bro, I've gotten artists on the radar. Niggas got on the radar and did a regular ass,
that's an opportunity,
1 minute freestyle.
Yeah.
So you got to go on the radar and decide to get 40 strippers and get on the mic and fucking do weird faces and shit. Doechii's getting on Tiny Desk and doing nut ass shit.
You could have got on the radar and did something drastically.
Dave Blunt's, bro. Dave Blunt's an 800-pound nigga
drastically
that sound like a 200-pound, 150-pound white boy saying hard R's. It's like, that's what the fuck he figured out to do, and it worked for bro. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, the Doechii shit for me is just like, It's amazing. It's a phenomenon. It's a superstar moment. Most of you niggas are not superstars, and most of you niggas need to start looking at livable wages and figuring out how to make that in for music. 300,000 a year, 400,000 a year, and enjoy that, nigga. That's doctor money.
Yeah,
Like,
still a great salary.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
yeah.
I mean, and if your goal is to make, what was it, 100,000, 100 million streams a month, or, I mean, you fine, bro.
Yeah.
you be straight.
Bro, you niggas don't want to be no motherfucking superstar. You don't, bro.
But it's interesting because hearing you lay that out really well, it's almost it's about people being honest with themselves, what their instinctual desire is.
And their intentions behind why they're even doing this to begin with. Bro.
Yeah,
Let them
which-
even formulate the intention.
Which aligns with the instinctual desire, right?
yeah.
Like, vision comes primarily from instinct. Like, this is where my desire goes, or where I feel like, any person says, I don't know what that looks like yet. It's too blurry, but I know I want to go there or there. To your point, like even if people are an artist, and we've all come across them that are obsessed with legacy, that's understandable. It's like a human thing, but legacy should be in the back burner, because if you have this instinctual drive, right? And that's the thing that inspires everybody with music. Like, you can tell with the artist that you mentioned that you're talking about, right? That's the thing that radiates with people, right? There's a difference between the inspirational and aspirational.
Yeah.
And superstars have audiences that are mostly just people that are aspirational, right? But you have to be inspired first. So it's just this, like, not to get all like kind of existential and everything that you just said, but it's so fascinating when it's like what you described must be so frustrating.
Yeah.
Sorry not to laugh at that, but it's how
often
Yeah,
does that
both
happen
of you.
for you two? How often does that happen where,
Expectation setting?
yeah, or
Yeah.
lack of
Yeah.
expectations? Like, they just come in, no intention, no vision, just like, bruh, can you help me?
Not that bad.
Not that bad.
Expectation setting is every day.
Yeah.
Resetting?
Expectation setting.
With the same artists or like newer artists when you're taking meetings and whatnot?
Yeah, all of them. Until they get in the flow. On my end, I don't want to take up space, but
Yeah. I think it depends on the artist. Like, I don't think you can generalize, because some artists, like one of my clients that I've mentioned a bunch tonight, educates himself all the time. I have another client who texts me all the time, is like, I need money, but like won't show up to the shoots I set up for her.
Yeah.
Canceling last minute, canceling after the shoot started. So, it's like, and she's super talented, like I'm sitting here like, what do I do? Because like she's a headache, but like she's super talented.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope she doesn't see this.
Definitely gonna see this.
I only have one.
Putting this shit on the internet.
I only have one female client.
I mean, but at the same time, any person should be able to hear that and take that and come to terms with that. They have to come to terms with that.
Yeah, I mean, my boss used to say all the time, like, everyone can make a hit record, but not everybody could be a star.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I've said it before, and I think, Mike, you said something once about something about being an artist, and it's like you're being guided by a larger,
Higher purpose.
higher purpose. And I love that you said that, because I think like the artists that are in it for the right reason, they're not working off of just wanting a Grammy or like wanting new girls, like there's something larger happening, and those are the artists that kind of push through. Like, I saw a video of Doechii when she was like 14 being like, I'm gonna be a star,
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that.
Exactly.
and she had that, but that's what I'm saying, is like she had that higher purpose. She knew, you know what I'm
And she
saying?
didn't lose that because you can still see that same Doechii in her.
100%.
Mhm.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And I think to add to that higher purpose too is that that person always feels that inherently, so that if they're not working towards it, you could see them having an existential crisis, right? They're like, I'm not working towards, I'm not having progress. I'm not like that. Yeah, it is. And I think, the one time we talked about it was even, people working on the business side, you can tell that, or in the game or in the arena or in this crazy shit we call music, is again, same thing. Like all of us here at this table and everyone that's listening or watching, it's like you must have come into this because you felt the pull of higher purpose because it means something to you, right? But then along the ways, a lot of people on the business side and on the artist side, producers, songwriters, a lot of people lose that, right? And then you have people making decisions that maybe shouldn't be there anymore, but they're there.
Yeah.
And I think with that, I think we kind of wrap that up. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, for me.
That's the work.